6 a.m. on the 6th of September, 2022. I'd like to call to order the Westborough Economic Development Committee meeting. Just like to point out to everybody that this meeting is being recorded, so careful what you say. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our August 2nd meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Any comments, questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
And the
Second.
okay. I think we're gonna have to do roll call style. Oh, no, we don't, because Zach doesn't vote, so nobody's voting.
No, Christy just joined the Zoom, so I would encourage you to do a roll call
Okay.
vote. Possible.
All right, so if everybody could just go around, say your last name and whether or not you approve. I'll start. Alexander, yes?
Bagdon, yes. Zeph, yes.
Kearney, yes.
Verow, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
This is for the minutes?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes,
Ah.
it is. Yep.
Okay. Williams, yes.
All right, great. Thank you all very much. Next on the agenda, we have a guest, Jason Palich. Is that right? All right.
Perfect.
Thank you. From the 495 Metro West Partnership. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning on this wonderful day.
Well, thank you for having me. And is everyone able to see that lovely burnt orange color that we flood everything with? Excellent. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate Zach for the invitation and all of you for the work that you do and for having me. My name is Jason Palich. I am the Executive Director of the 495 Metro West Partnership. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of who the partnership is, how we came to be, some of the things we're working on. I'll leave a few minutes at the end for questions. I know I've got 20 minutes on the agenda, so I'm going to try to color within the lines and not abuse the agenda time. So there are a few slides on this presentation that I might skip through a little bit faster. But again, thank you for having me this morning. The 495 Metro West Partnership's mission is to lead the advancement of the 495 Metro West region as an exceptional location for people, businesses, and communities. The vision of our organization is that the 495 Metro West will be a region that enjoys sustainable economic growth, well-stewarded natural and built resources, and diverse transportation and housing choices. Together, all of these things make this a desirable place for people to want to live and work. The 495 Metro West Partnership is a unique public-private collaboration among businesses, municipalities, and other stakeholders working together to create an environment that prepares for and cultivates sustainable economic growth. We do this through coordination, advocacy, and education. We have a full-time staff complement of 2. It is myself and my deputy director. We have a large volunteer board of directors from whom we benefit tremendously. There's about 52 voting members and another 30 advisory folks, all of whom are key elements of the 495 Metro West Stakeholder Coalition. I'll go through that in a second. And we've been in continuous operation for just under 2 decades now. What do we mean when we say 495 Metro West? I like to call this lovely region the purple diamond to the west of Boston. 495 Metro West consists of 36 cities and towns located along the 495 corridor, roughly with routes 3 and 1 to the north and Route 95 to the south. You think of us as that 4-pointed diamond to the west of Boston. We are, the northern tip is Westford. We come as far west as Shrewsbury and Grafton, all the way down to Foxborough, Rentham, and Plainville, with Natick and Wayland on the east. The region is about 1 in 10 residents of Massachusetts, 1 in 10 payroll dollars. The region has become substantially more diverse over recent years between the 2010 and 2020 U.S. censuses. The percentage of residents who are self-identify as white has declined 10%, with substantial growth, particular in our Asian population and those folks who identify as multiracial. The region is exceptionally well educated. Almost 60% of residents 25 years of age or older in the region hold a bachelor's degree. And we also exceed statewide numbers when it comes to graduate and professional degrees. And as many of you probably know, Massachusetts is an exceptionally well educated state. So that is certainly a very high educational attainment for the region. It is a technology and life sciences hub. Some industry clusters with higher concentrations in our region than the state as a whole include IT and analytics, biopharmaceuticals, and medical devices. And just to be clear, I'm not comparing the region to the United States. I'm actually comparing it to Massachusetts. Massachusetts as a state has higher representation among those industries. You see them even more concentrated in 495 Metro West. Our region has unemployment rate in our region has been consistently lower than the state rate since 1990. We are a net importer of labor. This is not news to folks in the town of Westborough. I'm sure many of you know that more folks commute into Westborough to work on a day-to-day basis than commute out. That is actually true of the 495 Metro West region as a whole. It's a bit unusual for what is regarded as a predominantly suburban area, but more people actually come into 495 Metro West on a day-to-day basis for work than commute out. The region's housing vacancy as of 2020 was just over 4%, which is quite low. The state's rate at the same time was just over 9%. Nearly a quarter of homeowners are considered cost burden. Housing does continue to assert itself as an economic challenge in the region. But 495 Metro West does offer a significant pricing advantage in terms of commercial real estate as compared to markets inside 128, in particular Boston and Cambridge. The price per square foot throughout 495 Metro West is substantially more affordable than it is in the Boston, Cambridge, Watertown, and Waltham markets. So how did we come to be? And I'm going to go through this part a little bit quickly. Transformed in the 1980s and 1990s, this region experienced explosive population and economic growth. A lot of businesses came out to the area. As we've talked about, it's a highly skilled, highly educated workforce, but the price per square foot, a substantial discount from Boston, a lot more available land than inside 128. So there were a lot of catalysts for growth in the latter quarter of the 20th century. Despite this growth, the region, it was felt at the time by policymakers, had not really achieved a distinct identity. Metro West as terminology only came into wide use in the 1980s with the advent of the Metro West Daily News in 1983. 495 Metro West is an even later term that actually has a lot to do with this organization. But the real problem was these 36 cities and towns, this region, these communities had a lot in common. They sank or swam together, but they were divided among any jurisdictional boundary in which decisions were made. Our 36 cities and towns are split up by county, congressional district, river watershed, which matters for environmental planning purposes, regional transit authorities, chambers of commerce, metropolitan planning organizations, or MPOs. Obviously, Westborough is a CMRPC community, but the regional MPOs are the vehicles through which state and federal transportation dollars are spent. Basically, any jurisdiction in which decisions were being made, this region was split up. And so it was felt by policymakers that the result of this was that too often the region was getting lost on the periphery of other regions. Most of the region is not fully regarded as central Massachusetts. All of the region is regarded as Metro Boston, but being Metro Boston puts you in a room with about 100 other communities, and Boston's needs continuously assert themselves at the forefront. So in 2002, some policymakers and business leaders in the region convened a feasibility study that explored combining some smaller fledgling organizations that had been founded to try to address this task. That study in 2002 recommended that 3 previously existing organizations combined, and the result of that was that in 2003, the 495 Metro West Partnership was formed. The leadership of the partnership is designed to bring together stakeholder groups who do not always sit around the same table, with the idea being that our region is their common interest. Our board of directors at all times has both a public and a private sector co-chair. And the board seats are balanced among stakeholder groups, including businesses, municipalities, economic development officers, planning organizations, higher education institutions, chambers, RTAs, where these folks have the common interest of advancing the cause of our region. As a public-private organization with all these stakeholders at the table, we're able to work in a kind of unique way to address some of the region's needs. Though all of what we do is focused on economic development, we are in many regards sort of the central advocate for 495 Metro West as a region. Our values, these are values we crystallized in a recent strategic planning process. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm going to highlight the first 2, which I think are of particular relevance to what we do. The first is that mix of stakeholders, collaboration and innovation is a key part of what we do. Bringing together different stakeholder entities really strengthens the partnership's voice. Though we're an economic development organization, we're not a business association. Though we serve municipalities, we're not the MMA. We don't serve the interest of just one stakeholder group. We're the voice when all of these stakeholder groups are coming together with the common interest of the region, and that certainly strengthens our voice. And then all of the work we do has as its core the goal of pursuing sustainable economic development in 495 Metro West. So work we do on transportation, housing, water resources, energy issues, workforce development issues, all has in mind the goal of sustainable economic growth for 495 Metro West. You folks able to see on this screen down here what I'm... Yep. Excellent, just want to make sure. I probably should have asked that earlier. As I mentioned, we have recently put in place a new 5-year strategic plan for the region. It crystallizes the goals under which we pursue sustainable economic growth into 5 categories, the first of which, operational efficiency and effectiveness, is some internal matters about strengthening how we, as a very small organization with a very big mandate, are able to do our work. But there's 4 issue areas under which a lot of our economic development activities take place. Transportation, built in natural resources, housing, and workforce development. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a little bit of detail. Some accomplishments from the region over the years. Branding the area as 495 Metro West is something that is really very much tied to the 495 Metro West partnership over the past 2 decades. As I mentioned, the branding of this region with that unique identifier is relatively recent. This organization played a key role in the founding of the Metro West Regional Transit Authority. Our region is collectively served by 5 different RTAs, which presents one of the transportation challenges we have. None of our cities and towns are MBTA bus communities. Any transit we have outside the commuter rail system comes from a regional transit authority or a TMA. We have fought successfully for a project that I'm sure many of you are interested in that is about to get underway. That is the reconfiguration of the 495-90 interchange. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in just a minute. But we've also done a lot of work on commuter rail advocacy, including achieving more predictable clock face scheduling on the lines. We every year conduct an employer survey with a few hundred employer representatives. We work with Framingham State University's Metro West Economic Research Center to produce an employer survey that helps to crystallize the views and attitudes of 495 Metro West employers. It's a great economic survey that shows how our employers view the region. It's also a tool to use to communicate to policymakers some of the things that we do. Work that the partnership puts out on an annual basis, some of the reports and projects that we do, and one of the advantages to being a public-private partnership, we're not a pay-to-play organization. All of these reports are available online. You can go to 495partnership.org. They're available to, we send them, of course, to our stakeholders, but they're available to any interested member of the public. Every year we produce a brief 2 or 3-page report called Strength in Numbers, which is overall talking points to use to advocate for the 495 Metro West region. They include things about the region's growing sectors, employment, educational attainment figures as compared with the state. We usually highlight the very significant discount in commercial real estate price per square foot and so forth. We also produce for each of our 36 cities and towns individual community profiles. You've got a picture of one right here. These are 2-page documents that for each of our cities and towns include key information such as population, educational attainment, commuting patterns, where are folks commuting from, where are they commuting to, how many are commuting into the community, how many are leaving, how many are staying within the community, what occupations and industries are predominant, housing stock information, and more. There is one of these each year for each of our 36 cities and towns. You can also get it on our website. And as I mentioned, of course, that employer survey is an annual project as well. Transportation. This is usually what we are often best known for in the policymaking area because, of course, transportation advocacy is something that it often does not make sense for individual cities and towns to do on their own. When you're talking about the need for robust commuter rail service or RTA service or significant roadway projects, communities are strengthened joining together for advocacy. The partnership is the leading transportation services advocate for our region. We advocate for roadway projects of regional significance. We do that a number of different ways. Anytime there's a formal comment process, either through Mass DOT or through one of the MPOs through which funding may be available, the partnership goes on record commenting in favor of projects or commenting on what we need to see from projects of regional significance. We run a transportation committee, which is a gathering of stakeholders with interest in the transportation sector from the transportation, engineering, business, and municipal governments, which is a forum for us to present and discuss on issues. We also issue commentary during design hearings as well as the MEPA and NEPA environmental processes. 495-90, this is, whenever I give this presentation, usually one of the most exciting slides for people to see for folks in Westborough, as this interchange is very significant to your community and is located right along your border. I know this is a project that folks are interested in, so raise your hand if you've ever had trouble dodging and weaving your way through 495-90. The replacement of that interchange, after many, many years of advocacy, and some folks around this table have been at the partnerships table and know this, but after many, many years of advocacy, Mass DOT has scheduled the replacement of this interchange for 2022. Project activities were initially scheduled to get underway late summer. The project, as of my last check-in, and at this point I'm bothering Mass DOT about this on about a weekly basis, they're about 1 month behind schedule. They are going to be doing their public engagement starting in October, and there will be a stakeholder briefing open to anyone who is interested, hosted by the 495 Metro West Partnership. We're going to do that at our Westborough location. Stay tuned for information about that. But this project is going to replace the interchange at 495 and 90. It's about 75,000 vehicles a day that are going through the interchange. The Pike carries about 100,000 vehicles, and 495 carries about 110,000 vehicles through this interchange. As many folks who live in the Westborough area know, it is a significant safety concern as an interchange. It requires folks to weave across traffic. The project is going to replace it with an interchange design that is going to eliminate that weaving pattern and a more traditional style. This interchange is of substantial economic consequence for the region, in addition to the obvious safety need for improving the intersection. There is a significant amount of freight that has moved through this interchange. It's no accident Cumberland Farms is right there and a lot of other economic engines for the region. But freight moving through New England that wants to avoid the Boston area, this interchange is a substantial need of theirs. So anytime there is an accident that grinds traffic there to a halt, in addition to obviously the immediate safety concern, there's a tremendous economic cost. So this project is slated to get underway through 2022, and it's an example of a project that the 495 Metro West Partnership has been speaking on the need of for many, many years now. Another one which may be of interest to folks, although this one is more likely to make it easy for folks to divert away from Westborough, so I'll spend a little bit less time on this one, but the 495-290 westbound ramp improvement project. Those of you who have ever come down 495 south with the intention of going towards Worcester on 290 westbound may have been finding yourselves sitting in a little bit of a parking lot for an extended period of time. That is a two-phase project that was delayed by the pandemic. The first part of the project, which was completed in 2019, extended the length of the lane, but the project, when fully completed, and it is scheduled to get underway within the fiscal year, will make that a two-lane off-ramp, and that is something that the partnership has also been a fierce advocate on. One topic that our organization has been calling quite a bit of attention to, and this one is getting a little bit less focus in our region, but is very, very significant for commuters, for businesses, for residents, for all of our stakeholders, the Alston Multimodal Project. Some of you may have heard of this before. This is the project that will replace the Massachusetts Turnpike, the viaduct that carries I-90 into the city of Boston and the Alston neighborhood, right by the Charles River area. This is a significant project, and why we focus on it when we talk to our 495 Metro West constituents is, even though this is a Boston-based project, it is going to have substantial impact on commuters, freight, and industry to points west. Obviously, in this region, the Pike is critical to accessing Boston. This is going to be an 8 to 10 year project, what I like to sometimes call a big dig level event. It is going to be one of the most significant undertakings that Mass DOT has ever undertaken. It will involve at various points, due to construction activities that need to reduce the number of active lanes on the Turnpike. It is also going to require at certain points reducing or potentially reducing commuter rail service. If you look at that map, and I know it's hard to see where the yellow Route 90 snakes by the Charles River, that's an area that Mass DOT refers to colloquially as the throat. It is a very narrow strip of land along the river, and what that means is all of the infrastructure related to this project has to go through that very, very narrow area, which complicates construction and planning activities. So it is possible that Mass DOT could be seeking to reduce both the ability to commute on the Pike as well as need to reduce commuter rail service. 495 Metro West Partnership has already begun very aggressive advocacy to make sure that these two things do not occur at the same time to the extent possible, because of course commuters, freight, and businesses in our region do not have a lot of alternatives when it comes to expeditious travel in and out of Boston. This is a project that we're calling a lot of attention to, again, because it is important that all of our stakeholder communities be made aware of it. Mass DOT has committed to establishing a mitigation working group specific to coming up with strategies during the construction phase to mitigate the effect of construction, and they have pledged to give the 495 Metro West Partnership a specific seat on that commission. Commuter rail is another big one for ours. As I mentioned, none of our communities are served by MBTA buses, so to the extent that our region receives MBTA service, it is all through commuter rail, obviously with the Framingham-Worcester line coming right through Westborough. There have been some successes that we as an organization, with the support of our legislative delegation and the active voices of our cities and towns, are proud of. There has been improved reliability through some infrastructure investments, including fixing signals and switching. There has been improvement to the scheduling, which is now clock-based scheduling, or more reliable and predictable. Commuter rail service, obviously, or commuter rail usership obviously went down substantially during the pandemic. It is starting to creep back. It is creeping back faster than Mass DOT expected it would, and so the partnership is continuing some of the advocacy that we had going pre-pandemic, including the need to address the parking constraints at stations. I know that that's an issue that has impacted Westborough in particular, but also some other issues like the need to reduce dwell times through level boarding platforms and so forth. But again, commuter rail service for our region, if you're looking to get out of your personal vehicle to commute in and out of the city, commuter rail is really your only option in our region, so it's a huge priority for us. We also advocate for the financial needs of our regional transit authorities. You've seen our service map. Now this very, very colorful map here will show you how RTA service is broken up throughout the state. Our 36 cities and towns are served by different RTAs. Some of them actually have no RTA service. And without dwelling on this subject too long, while our RTAs as individual organizations all do great jobs trying to provide service to residents, especially those residents who depend on those services, it is right now the case that if you wanted to commute from the southern tip of our region to the northern tip of our region, depending on the community you lived in or were trying to get to, you either couldn't do through RTA service, or at best, let's say you were trying to get from maybe Milford to Hudson, you'd have to, through MWRTA, get a bus into Framingham, back. It's a hub and spoke model that's from a previous era when people wanted to go from suburbs in and out of the central city. We know that commuting patterns are very different now. I want to give a lot of credit to the WRTA through the Via Shuttle service, which we know is something that folks have come to really like here in Westborough. And actually our co-op student, we benefit from the services of a Northeastern University co-op student, was for a while taking the commuter rail to Southborough and actually able to access our workspace on Freiburg Parkway through the use of that Via Shuttle service. So there's certainly economic consequence to all of these. I'm cognizant of my time, so I'm gonna blast a little bit quicker through just some of the other areas we work on. Again, all with economic development in mind. Water resources is key. New England is an area with very old water infrastructure. That is a problem unto itself. It requires sometimes substantially expensive investment, but in addition to that, there's an economic cost to that as well. There are certain industries, in particular the life sciences industry, that have different types of water needs and water usage than other industries do. And so certainly we have growing industries in our region that depend on a robust water infrastructure. We advocate regularly for increased investment in the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, which of course is a state agency that provides low interest loans to municipalities and sometimes water districts to do some of these very expensive projects. We are also a supporter of what's called the #InvestInWaterMA initiative. This is a pretty unique alliance between municipal governments, business entities, chambers of commerce, labor unions, and others who are calling attention to the need in the public eye to use more federal relief dollars for infrastructure investment. The theme of the campaign being the pipes are underground, you can't always see them, but they're impacting your life and economic growth in your community. Housing is an issue where the partnership has been focusing more and more of our attention and resources. Housing is emerging as a significant economic threat to the region. Prior to the pandemic, if you would ask me what the most substantial economic threat to 495 Metro West was, I would have said transportation. We still have our transportation challenges, but now it's housing. This is a very expensive place to live. It is becoming a more expensive place to live. And why that is a particular economic threat to our region is the people who choose to live here are why businesses want to be here. In addition to commercial real estate being substantially cheaper than inside of 128, or I should say more affordable than inside of 128, it's a highly skilled workforce. The more difficult it is for folks to access this place as a place to live, the more challenging it's going to be in terms of growing economically in the future. We are focusing more and more on this issue, including through advocacy for more transit-oriented development. In terms of energy and sustainable development, the region's energy infrastructure is also something that the partnership focuses on. We try to advocate for programs and financial resources for improvements to our energy systems, as well as helping individual property owners make their buildings more efficient and more affordable. For example, we are working with Mass Development to increase adoption of what's called the PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, which is a financing mechanism that enables an assessment to be placed on a property that will pay for certain energy improvements over time. Right now, it is only available to commercial and industrial properties, not to housing or any other types of properties. One other issue I want to touch on, though a lot of the economic development work we do is within the realm of a particular policy area, we are the official REDO, or Regional Economic Development Organization for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for our region. There are 11 such organizations statewide. We assist in the Commonwealth's business development enterprise through performing a number of basic economic development functions. We are a primary point of contact for businesses who are looking to get in touch with state and local government. We promote regionally significant industry clusters. We keep working with our cities and towns, a database of priority development areas, parcels that municipalities are seeking or prioritizing for development, and we help to push those when the opportunity arises. And we also assist our member municipalities with economic development efforts. Partnering with Westborough. We are headquartered here in Westborough. We are on 200 Freiburg Parkway. Westborough is at the geographic center of our region with ready access to the Pike, 495-90. Westborough is our 9th largest municipality by population. We're very proud of our relationship with this community. And in particular, working with Zach in FY22, just this past year, we were very pleased that the state gave us the opportunity through our annual REDO grant to to submit attachment projects for funding through a attachment submitted by the town of Westborough. We were able to secure $25,000 for the town to develop your new Shop Westborough directory, which of course was launched last month, and we're very excited to be able to support that. And I know your team, led by Zach, have worked very hard on that, and we're enjoy a continuous good, positive working relationship with our hometown of Westborough. Very quickly, and then I'll take some questions, just some upcoming work. We're continuing to monitor and inform on key transportation projects. I mentioned we are going to be scheduling a stakeholder briefing with Mass DOT on the 495-90 interchange within the next few weeks. That will be open to all stakeholders. We are, just tomorrow, our executive committee is going to be voting to create a new committee for the partnership, which is going to be the 495 Metro West Planning and Economic Development Working Group. This is going to be a regular convening of all the planning and economic development officers for our 36 cities and towns, focused on their common issues in 495 Metro West to promote continued coordination there. And obviously, we're continuing to be the leading voice for the region when it comes to transportation, housing, water resources issues. I want to thank some of the business investors who make the work that we do possible. And we do receive some state funding through the Competitive Redo Program. Our primary source of financial support are the business entities that invest in the improvement of the 495 Metro West region, and we thank them for their ongoing support. With that, happy to take any questions you might have. How'd I do on time?
I think you did all right. We were a little behind anyway, so. Great presentation. Thank you very much. Obviously, a lot you're doing for our region here, and we do appreciate the relationship that we have with you, and I know that Zach has spent a lot of time with you folks, and we appreciate the collaboration that we have working together. Any questions for Jason?
If I may.
Sure.
Sorry.
I was just going to be silly and ask if you knew something about the Rotary.
We don't interfere in municipal operations, so if the town of Westborough were seeking funding from the Commonwealth or the federal government for a project, we would aggressively advocate on the town's behalf. We will not come into the town and entail an actor in municipal government.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Do you have any idea what the projected timeline for I-90 and 495, that whole thing, how long that would be?
Scheduled for about 4 years.
Great.
But, actual construction activities, and, we're already looking at a delay of a few weeks, so I emphasis on scheduled for.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you all for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just before he steps down, I just wanted to say as well, thank you, Jason, to coming. I thought that was a really helpful overview, especially for some of our newer members, board members, and as well, I think the collaboration that we have with the 495 Metro West Partnership is really important and extends even beyond some of the things that Jason has said. So, when he was talking about those data reports that they prepare, those are actually what we have on the EDC's website for our town profile, because it's super helpful to get that data every year updated, and it tells a lot about our community to the folks that are looking on our website and everything like that. So I just want to say thanks, Jason, for coming in, and thank you for all of your collaboration with our community and with the Community Development Office here.
Thank you.
All right, so next on the agenda is discussion on the recommendations for the EDC reappointment process. This, as some of you may recall, is something we've been talking about for the last couple of months. There was discussion on taking a vote and, providing the select board with what we think is a way we'd like to proceed with the reappointment process, and for new members as well, I think. We had talked about, in the past, we used to interview some of the candidates. The select board did not have us do that recently. We've talked about using the ambassador program as kind of a stepping stone, if you will, to being a part of the EDC, being a full-time voting member of the EDC, I should say. So I just want to throw it out there to continue the conversation and see if we can come up with a plan today that we can recommend to the select board. And I think there was some talk of us getting together and having a working session with them at some point, or going to one of the meetings. Christy, is that, am I recalling correctly? I don't know if she's there or not, but.
I think the thinking, or I think, Todd, if we're thinking about the same thing, I think the idea was to go to a select board meeting, maybe at some point at the end of September or October, to talk about the ambassador program and sort of, make them and make the members of the public aware of that and sort of how we would want it to be a stepping stone towards EDC membership. I don't think the idea was to have a working session with the select board about this topic. I think, the board should discuss it here and then create a set of recommendations that the select board can take up on their own. Christy, is that correct?
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, so how do people feel about, let's talk about the ambassador program. I know that we've discussed it past couple of months, but it's a program that we want to bring back. In the past, it was, I think, a very valuable program. It provided me with experience for years that I was able to utilize and then eventually become a full voting member on the board here. With the exception of Pete Allen, we really haven't had an ambassador program for the last few years, and again, we'd like to get that up and running. And I think at our meeting last month, we had the kind of the job description, I guess, for lack of a better definition, that we presented, and I think we all voted on and approved as it related to the ambassador program. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
I guess I would think that, like I saw there was a call out a few weeks ago for another committee, the master plan
Right.
implementation committee, maybe to see who's interested, so we can talk about having ambassadors, but we got to find people that actually would want to.
Right.
Now that we have a description or something, put out and say anyone interested, and then if we get 10 people or 3 people or 2 people, we can kind of mold that program around the number of people as opposed to trying to shoot for a number we don't know that we'd even accomplish. I don't know.
I think every organization, every committee, regardless, needs a feeder system, and I think that the ambassador committee is, very, very important. And I think not only do they provide, a vital role, Pete Allen being a great example of that, but it's an education process. People get up to speed with what's going on. I mean, I think it's necessary, and we look at some of our organizations in town, in the region that are traditionally not set up with a feeder system, and they're struggling at all times to stock the board or the committee. And I think that's you got to start with the feeder system.
And I think that, because we are becoming so diverse as a town, we need to maybe not always look at the traditional ways that we recruit people. We need to be looking at some of the other, to really kind of get the diversity in here. So that was just my comment.
Yeah, great, good point.
I also just wanted to add that since we approved the job description last month, I've had a couple conversations with somebody who's interested in being an ambassador, who was actually referred to us by Sandy. So thank you, Sandy, for generating interest and bringing people to the ambassador program. We'll see where it goes. I think the person was a little concerned with the commitment and some of the other commitments that they have on their plate right now. But I think the job description really helped make it very clear what the expectations for the role are, and allowed us to have a much more meaningful conversation about whether or not the person was interested.
Trying to knock down the barrier a little bit, and maybe having an info session once every 6 months or something like that, over coffee or over a glass of wine or whatever it is. Just to let people know what the EDC stands for, what the roles would be, and so forth. I think would be very helpful. I think there's a threshold in some people's minds that they need to get over.
That's a good point, yeah.
This is probably already been discussed, and maybe it's given, but I would assume they would also have to attend at least a meeting so that they can become familiar with what we're doing and see if it's really a good fit for them as well. That's what we do. We have a student liaison on the Cultural Council, and we do the same thing with them before we go before the select board.
Yeah, I think we had that as part of the requirement
Okay.
in the job description, attending the meetings here as well as with the business outreach program. So then, as far as the recommendations for the EDC, from the EDC to the Select Board for the reappointment process, it sounds like we'd like to establish kind of a, I guess, preference would be put upon those who are in the ambassador program. That's one thing. The second thing, and I don't want to be jumping to conclusions here, is that we would like to continue to, as a committee, interview those people that are being considered for the appointment process. Is that
Agreed.
accurate?
Yes.
So anything else that we'd like to recommend to the Select Board that they consider?
I think we also discussed staggering
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, thank you. Great point.
appointment,
Yeah.
during how
Yeah.
we come on, so that way we're not losing everyone in one swoop.
Yeah, that's probably the most important thing. Yeah, thanks, sir. Yeah,
Nailed it.
yeah.
Is there a plan to, with that being said, I'm brand new to to this board, and do you have a yearly kind of meeting or get together or something where you get to know each other a little bit? Is there some sort
We
of?
don't, but that idea, actually, I think, Holly, if you recall, when we were at the Business Expo, you, Scott, and I had kind of suggested that might be something fun to do, and
Yeah.
I would be really open to helping to plan or coordinate something like that if there's interest. So thanks for bringing that up, Sandy.
You just have to be careful, because you're a public body under the open meeting law. So sort of the idea of having social gatherings where you would sort of talk about your roles on the EDC is something that we need to consider if we're gonna move forward with something like that.
Okay, so right now with the appointment, our appointments are only for a year, correct? They're one-year terms. And we would like to break that up. I think we were talking about, do we feel that we'd like to recommend to the Select Board 2-year terms or 3-year terms, staggered, obviously?
Yeah, depending on their preference, I would think. I mean, 2 or 3 years, I think, would be enough of a commitment that it's not overwhelming. And
Right.
At least allow it to stagger everyone in so we come at some.
3-year terms is pretty typical on other committees, so.
Okay. And I know, Christie, at one of our prior meetings, you had discussed that some of the other committees were going to be talking to the Select Board about the same thing. Some of them, have you received any feedback from those committees at this point?
Yeah, we did ask committees, specifically ones that didn't have any sort of terms, to create terms, and the way that it came back is that the board ended up changing the composition to staggered 3-year terms. So the way that it worked on these other committees was that they created the staggered 3-year terms, and then everyone applied again. So if the board, given that you've all just been reappointed, you might include in the recommendation, who would be in each of the staggered terms. So obviously you'd have to start with a 1-year appointment and 2-year appointments and 3-year, and then just recommend, if you wanted to, we could recommend that we not sort of advertise them again, given we just advertised them.
Right. Yeah.
Is there a limit on the amount of terms?
As far as years, or, Christie, is there a limit on the number of years?
There's no
for
limit on
appointment?
number of terms, just
Yeah.
you can serve.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
Jim's been on the committee since it was formed, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and the staff positions are typically not included in the staggered,
Oh, okay, makes sense.
just because those positions are on here by virtue of the position title,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be
The person.
staggered.
Yeah, so our composition is 4 staff and 7, call it general public, right?
Yep, at large or.
At
yep.
large, thank you, yeah. That's, okay.
So I think we'd want to have the 7 public or members at large, we break them up, or we put their names in a hat and just,
Yeah, for 1, 2, and 3 year
yeah,
terms?
1, 2, and 3
Yeah.
years, so you just have to say there's, 2 of each and 3 of 3 years or something, and the 2 years, 2 of the other 2, so we keep everything kind of moving in a
Yep.
normal pace. So like a 2, 2, 3. That would get you
So
to
don't do
7.
any 1 years?
Well, 2 1 years, 2 2
Oh, okay.
years, and then
And
1
three-
3 years.
Yep.
That way you kind of start and make it less work for at least the first 2 years to get everyone,
Yep.
if they decide they want to stay on.
Okay. I think that, yeah, I guess whether we put names in a hat or if there's any, do people have any preference, whether they're 1, 2, or 3 year? If we can start with that.
I would suggest that you could back solve from your actual tenure and seniority. So, Sandy and Dave are the newest members, and, you could give them a 3-year term.
Yeah.
And then, Mark, Holly and Mark are, sort of the next set of new members, and, we could give them a 2-year term, and then, a 2-year term, and then Todd and Scott, I think, are technically the most
Yep.
senior members, and you guys could get a 1-year term.
I like that. You guys, everybody good with that?
Works for me. Todd's trying to get rid of his chair, I think.
You're gonna start sitting closer to me, Mark, at these meetings.
But actually, and I misspoke, you would all have 3-year terms, but your terms would expire in that order.
Got it.
Yeah.
And there'll be natural turnover as well.
Yeah.
At some level, you assume, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to stagger the terms. We'd like to have emphasis or additional consideration put on those people who are ambassadors, currently ambassadors. And then obviously would like to be involved in the interview and recommendation process to the select board.
Yeah.
Anyone want to make a motion or any further discussion? Anybody have any comments before we make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Holly?
I second.
Okay, so Kristen is,
Motion,
The
can
mo-
somebody make the full motion?
A motion to approve those steps at building the committee
yeah, so
and expiration dates.
staggering the reappointment process.
Staggering the reappointment process, I would say,
consideration or
creating
emphasis.
a 3-year term,
Yeah,
and then assigning a 1-year term to Todd and Scott, a 2-year term to Holly, Mark, and Mark, a 3-year term to Dave and Sandy, providing a preference for ambassadors in the reappointment process or selection process, and then involving the EDC in the selection process by doing some kind of interview
and recommendation.
and recommendation.
Yep. Sounds good.
That was a mouthful.
Excellent.
All right, so,
I guess
Yeah.
I'll,
Seconded it, I'm sorry.
Sandra.
yeah, there you go, whoever.
okay, all good? Any comments or any discussion? No? All right, so motion on the floor. Alexander, yes?
Bagden, yes?
Zeph, yes?
Kenny, yes?
Kearney, yes.
Verow, yes.
Bernardo, yes.
Christie?
Sorry, Williams, yes.
All right, thank you. All right, great. Excellent. Nice collaborative effort on that
Yeah,
one,
we got
folks.
that done, yeah.
That's good. So next on the agenda is the Shop Westborough Directory, Fred and Zach. This thing is very well received. You guys have done an awesome job on it, and
Zach, were you able to go on the internet to bring that up?
Yep, I'm just going to share my screen, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to walk everyone through the website, show you some of the features. I know that at our last meeting, we were, I think, about a week before the site ended up launching, so you guys didn't really get to see it. But yeah, I just want to take a couple minutes to show you
Thank you.
what it looks like, how it works, some of the things that you can do, and obviously I want the general public to have the opportunity to see that as well. And I also wanted a call to action to all the EDC members to let your friends, your neighbors, your peers know that this resource exists and that it is a really powerful tool to help folks shop local here in Westborough. Can everyone see my screen?
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. So this is we'll start from the homepage. On the homepage is where you can, search for businesses through a variety of modes, either by keyword. So this is like pretty cool. Unfortunately, the only two words I've ever searched are liquor and plush, but don't read too much into that. But if you search for, let's say, toys, in the keyword search, it'll bring up the businesses that are listed in the directory that sell toys or have toys as a tag on their listing. So it'll bring them up on a nice interactive map, and so you can see Children's Orchard, which is in Westborough Shopping Center on Lyman Street, Learning Express of Westborough on East Main Street, and then you can scroll down and it actually gives you a list of the businesses that are here. Now, something I should add is that some of the businesses list the tags, which are typically products or keywords associated with their business that are attached to their listing. And so that's how we get some of that. We can also filter by industry, distance from your location, if you will share your location with Google, and interest groups. So we can see if any of these businesses are minority owned, no results found, but let's see, women owned, and then we have to unselect minority owned. And yeah, 2 of them are women owned businesses. If I go back to the homepage here, you can search by certain interest groups, so women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses. And so if you actually just select this filter and hit search, this will pull up a list of all of the minority-owned businesses in Westborough. And again, I do want to caveat that this is self-identifying. Not all of these businesses are registered with the state supplier diversity office, but we use the same, evaluation criteria to determine who is a minority and women and veteran-owned business. You can also search by all of these industries. So if we wanted to see the electronics repair businesses that are listed in the directory, we can do that. And we only have one, but it's PLG Enterprises AllNet Computer Solutions, which is that business downtown right before the bridge. Some of the other things that you can do are you can search by certain popular categories, featured businesses, which what I have here are the businesses that won awards at the Year in Review Awards celebration that are listed. Look at popular industries, and then there's also a page to add your business. And so if you're watching, or if your business isn't already listed, it's not too late. There are about, I think, 175 or 180 businesses that we have listed now, and that number continues to grow. Every week we get more inquiries about how to list your business, or people who actually have listed their business. And we're still going through our training to get used to the content management system, to add everybody and edit listings and continue to upgrade and update the website. But this would be the page where you can go and fill out this brief survey to add your business to the directory. And then finally, there's a little about page on About Shop Westborough and about the Westborough EDC. As well as a page to contact us. And so how folks have been using this page is if they have a question about how to add their business, or if they have a question about their listing or want to change their listing, they can use this form to get in contact with me. And inquiries through this form and when folks add their business, that goes directly to my email. And then there is a WordPress sort of suite that we use to address those queries and add those new listings to the directory, or really publish those listings, if that makes any sense. I'll head back to the homepage. Does anyone have any questions, or is there anything that anyone wants to see? Otherwise, I think we can move on to our next exciting item.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
I know you put a lot of time and effort into it, and it looks phenomenal. So thank you
Well done, Zach.
for all your hard work on this.
Yeah, and like I said, I would just call on all of the EDC members to let people know that this exists. The URL is www.shopwestboroughma.com. And, if you're interested in supporting local business, shopping local, and, making Westborough a better place to do business, use this as a resource to, when you're shopping for Christmas or, when you're doing, when you're looking for anything and you don't know where you're going to find it already. And likewise, if you have neighbors or friends or peers or colleagues who are businesses that are interested in being added to the directory and aren't already, let them know that they can go to www.shopwestboroughma.com, do that, or reach out to me if they have any questions. Last thing that I'll say before I hand it back over is we are also printing. Did my screen move? Can you guys see this PDF that we're looking at?
No.
No.
We
Okay.
have them in our hands, I think.
Hold on.
I think we have.
These?
They have them, Zach.
Okay.
So we,
Yep. So I guess we have printed already.
Done.
Had a schedule.
But yeah, and the idea is that we're going to take these. It's my understanding that the town is having a tent on Saturday. Christy, is that correct?
the 11th, yeah.
At a Westborough Connects event, and so we'll be handing these out to make
Sunday, sorry.
Sunday,
Sunday.
my bad. To make people aware of the directory, like actual customers and end users. And then we'll also be taking these, and putting them at various, points of interest around town to drum up interest and raise awareness about the directory as a resource to shop local. So if any of you guys would like some, I'm sure Fred and I can make some available to you.
Zach, are you thinking about putting them, I don't know if the school has a backpack program, but it'd be great to, talk with them and get, these flyers into the backpacks, because that's going to get to the majority of the people that are spending money in town.
Good point.
100%. I think that's a great idea. And in the next couple of weeks, I will try to find the right person in the school department to talk to about that and see if we can get involved with that. I'd also love to, and I will put it on my list to get in touch with the recreation department and see if we can incorporate this into any of the things that they might give out or run and do. So
Two quick things. I think it's a virtual backpack now, but we can still see if we can do that. Definitely, absolutely good idea. And then Arts in Common, October 1st, we're going to have an actual Arts in Common booth, so we can definitely take some of those brochures and hand them out and talk about it.
awesome. Thanks, Holly. I appreciate that.
And Westborough Connects too is having the Westborough for Life event on Sunday, and I'll be there all day in the Rotary booth. So just what
That's
people
the
are
event that Zach was referring to. So we'll have, a town table. So it sounds like
Cool.
they'll be well distributed there.
Great. All right. Thank you. So next on the agenda is the Westborough Works video. Fred and Zach.
I'm actually going to hand this over to Karen and Aiden if they're here. But before I do, I'll just give a little bit of context to some of the newer members. Over the last year or two, the EDC has been interested in making a Why Westborough promotional video to be used for our marketing efforts with businesses. So Karen and her team over the last year have worked with me, and really they've led and spearheaded the effort to create that type of video. We tried to keep it kind of short and punchy, and because attention spans are short, and we want to keep people's attention. But I think the finished product is really awesome, and the idea is to start with this kind of short general video, and then possibly move forward and make either a longer video that might go into more detail, or a couple of videos about priority industries that we're interested in recruiting, focusing on, or different types of businesses like large businesses or small businesses. And so with that, I just wanted to upfront say a huge thank you to Karen and the Westborough TV team. This is, I think, a super impressive video to me, and I'm really excited for you all to see it. So Karen or Aiden, if you're there, do you want to pull up the video and share it with the board?
That's great. Awesome job.
Awesome.
Great job.
done.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Nice cameos too, guys.
Yeah. That's another fine product produced by Westborough TV, and thank you guys so much for all you do. You guys do a fantastic job, and that's just another great example of the fantastic work you do. So thank you very much. I love it. I think it's great.
Well done.
Yeah, that was, I can't even imagine how many locations, editing hours, that's amazing.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
And quick question, where will this be available? Just on different websites, town website?
I'm gonna put it on the EDC's website when I get back in the office on Monday. I think I'll have a conversation with Christy and Mark Stockman on what, how to feature it on the town's website. We're also going to use it in social media, on Facebook, and then in any sort of business recruitment meetings that we have, we're going to use the video to give businesses a flavor of
Great.
how great it is to live, work, and play in Westborough. I think as well, if any of you all on your business or personal social media accounts, if you want to share it and get it out there, I might also, I think, provide it to some local real estate agents or property owners so that they can use it when they're having conversations with prospective tenants. But it's technically not released yet. I'll plan to actually create as well like a formal press release when I'm back in the office on Monday to roll it out formally.
Great. Yeah, why don't, if you could, once it is released, send the link, obviously, to everybody on the board here so we can get it out there as well.
100%.
Great.
And Christy, I'll also send a link to the select board as well.
I think we have shared it with them. So.
Oh, okay, great.
Thanks. Yep.
Awesome. Great job. Love it. All right, next on the agenda is the planning department report. Jim's not here. I don't know if there is a report or if we should just skip over that. Skip over it. All right. Then on to Fred and Zach with the community development department report.
Yep, so new businesses, we have the law offices of Sarah J. Samsudin, now open in the former Flirt Boutique space. We have a political campaign moving into 108 Milk Street on a temporary basis. In terms of upcoming businesses, we have a building permit for a 7,300 square foot tenant at 115 Flanders. And we have building permits that have been submitted for Spectrum Health Systems expansion at 151 153 Oak Street, and building permits submitted for the Cold Harbor project at 66 Otis Street. We also have a new tenant coming to Bay State Commons. It's a business called The Little Gym. And we also have a restaurant, a food service business as well, coming to the downtown area. In terms of EDC programs and updates, for Shop Westborough, Fred and I have received training on the content management system, and we're expected to do another training in the next week or so. You guys have seen the rack card that we created to advertise the Shop Westborough directory. I'll also be preparing a few more marketing materials and different mediums in the next couple weeks to get out there. We are finalizing a proposal with the UMass Boston Collins Center for our minority and women-owned business study. And by finalizing, I mean, we're kind of still ironing out the details on the scope of work there. For our punch card loyalty program, I've started preliminary planning. Holly, I would love to have a conversation with you in the next week or two, and also bring in, was it Allison?
Allison, yeah.
Allison, to talk about that as well.
Definitely.
The Main Street Trick or Treat is preliminary planning is underway, and I believe the date that we're targeting is Tuesday, October 25th. For that event. And then in terms of events that you should be aware of in the next month, on September 13th, next Tuesday, at 6 p.m., the Select Board is using part of their meeting for a public forum on tax classification. So this will be the opportunity for the public to get involved in some of that conversation and express their thoughts and ask their questions about tax classification and that process overall. On 9 15, the Metro West Chamber of Commerce is having a business after hours event. And then on 9/21, the Corridor 9 495 Chamber is having a business after hours event with the Worcester Chamber of Commerce. That's all I have for me. Fred, or Christy, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just wanted to add that tonight, the select board will be interviewing the 3 bidders for the 231 Turnpike former Regal property.
Great,
And that's at 6:30.
great, thank you.
The only add I have is, I'm happy to say we do have an applicant finally for the outdoor seating policy, so we're gonna work through that.
Oh, great.
Some of you that might need to do that yet, we'd like to get those going.
All right, thanks for the update. On to other business. Any other business?
May I?
Sure.
Just wanted to let everyone know that after 2 years of work and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, the Partners has withdrew from their, application from the state, and so they're not going to be building a medical facility at 1400 West Park Drive. It's really too bad, because now people like me have to drive into Boston to go to Mass Ioneer when I could have just,
Yep.
driven there half a mile from my work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it would have been great for the town and the community. It's unfortunate that it's not going to happen. I'd also like to just take a moment to acknowledge Zach and congratulate him on being the Town Employee of the Month.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Zach, well deserved. We've known what a great employee you are for the last couple of years, but it's nice to see you get the recognition from the town as well, and congratulations. Very, very, very well deserved. We appreciate all you do.
Thank you. I appreciate the recognition from both all you guys in the town. I really appreciate it. It feels good. Thanks.
Great. Any other business? Yes.
Just want to introduce myself. I'm Zafar Siddiqui. I'm part of the AFC, and I'm
Oh, yes.
given
Yeah.
the responsibility of be the liaison for the EDC.
Correct, yeah.
So I did email you and Zach that I'll be in the next meeting. I came in just a few minutes late, so that's who I look like.
Thank you for joining us, yeah.
In my personal life, I've been here for 18 years. My 2
Yeah.
kids go to the school. I'm a physician. I work long hours, but I'm committed to the town, and I have a lot of interest in business and social responsibility. I have an MBA part of the career. I've been on some executive boards in the hospital myself. But that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you as our liaison. And as a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought it up. Zach and I are presenting to the AFC, I believe, next Monday night, Zach?
I think it's Monday, yes. The 12th. Yeah, the 12th, yes.
Yeah. So we'll be presenting the article that we're submitting to town meeting regarding the funds from the billboards.
I heard a lot of good things today, Zach. Thank you for your achievement and everything else. The website is great. One of those.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to
very
meet you.
much. Nice to meet you.
All right, any other business? No? All right, then do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to adjourn, Zeph, I guess.
All right,
Second, Baggett.
okay. Alexander, yes?
Baggett, yes.
Zeph, yes.
Kenny, yes?
Kearney, yes?
Varro, yes?
Leonardo, yes.
William, Jess.
All right, thank you all very much. We'll see you next month.